Alright, so hello everyone, welcome to another video with me, Macherie, and today we're going to be taking a look and talk about Story Season 3. Alright, so yeah, webcam's still not fixed, so that's just not going to be here for this video, but we'll take a little bit of a peek, talk about some of the story stuff, and obviously really wanted to lead in with that joke, so there it is. Alright, so Season 3 is here, and as you can see, if we head even back out, we can now see that the titles are Crossblade, Bloody Bullet, and Into Crossblood. Insert your own joke here about what Book 4 will be called. But Season 3, Book 3, now I like calling it seasons because, like, if you think about it, just Season 1, Season 2, Season 3. Season 3 looks to have 3 distinct kind of stories that are currently going on at the beginning, and even, you know, this is a story spoiler-ish. I'm not going to go into every single detail and give all of it away, partially because I haven't just done all the translation yet. But Season 3 is looking promising, starting off with, of course, some new artwork. And we don't just have one new character today, we actually have 2. So interestingly, I want to note here Sterne evolving into, well, at this point, I mean, you guess you could, we still need a name for him, whether it's going to be Armor Sterne or Forge Sterne or One Wing Sterne or Blade Sterne, but there's a lot of possibilities for what this name will be, and probably won't get an actual answer until the story details come out. We also have not only one new character today, we actually have 2. So I'd like to introduce another character that will be introduced, and we will talk a little bit later. But between this, we have 2 really brand new pieces of character art to go talk about today. I've already covered the brand new music that is being used for the Battle BGM. And yeah, interestingly, I guess we should just talk a little bit, starting off with what's Episode 3, Season 3, Book 3. God dang, I'm just going to be confused throughout this entire thing of what. I should really just pick one and go with it. But yeah. 3 starts off with a wedding, and the wedding between Macherie and Mont. It is not a wedding between anyone else. I know that some people have talked about the fact that this is supposed to be, oh, maybe it's Rachez as well as Sterne. No, it's Rachez and Saria. No, that's all. Celir. No, that's also not true. Rachez and Adelard, and that's not true, but there is a lot of stuff that happens in the first little bit here, starting off with this trailer, which we've seen before, but, you know, it just is kind of a spectacular video to open up, because, you know, like, they put some good money into making this, and I think the CG style that they've gone with here looks really good, and this is pretty well produced overall between the music and what's going on and the story beats. But yeah, getting past this, because we have already seen this, so we want to get into what is going on in each and every section. Starting off with the wedding between Macherie and Mont, we open up with a bunch of different characters on both the bride and the groom side, which is a very cute way of going about it, and getting into this, which is the actual ceremony. And I gotta say, I love the map. This is a really nice looking map overall. Lots of detail here, and honestly, we should just use this map for basically everything. I don't think it's a very good particular arena map or anything like that, but got the bride side and the groom side with different characters on either side, and even some old characters showing up. This is a great way just to keep track of who is alive and who is dead at this point. Now, really, I mean, the major points here is that over the course of the wedding, it actually gets interrupted close to the end by Rundal soldiers. As we know at the end of Season 2, Jaden's slightly betrayed and murdered by Oberyn, and Oberyn eventually just kind of buggers off, takes the ring, and this kind of leaves Rundal in kind of a shitty location. So we get some emissaries and some soldiers kind of crashing the wedding here, which is what breaks us into our first battle in the first one. But I do just want to highlight this, and particularly some, this is a cute little section of our characters getting married after so very long. See if we've timed this just right. I timed the opening to this video really well, so I really hope that this is good. Yeah, so there's the kind of omadetou gozaimasu, congratulations, you too. Whether or not you like them, that's a different story, but yeah. Getting in here, we're just kind of interrupted by a thing. As you can see, Engelbert is back, and a bunch of different characters who are not dead. That's always important. Distinction here. So let's go into the next section. We'll kind of be, again, we're not covering this beat for beat, but you can kind of get the idea. Heading out into the courtyard. Who should it be? But this little troublemaker. And just skipping ahead past another fight, there is a cute little moment here, which basically, they're kind of looking for, obviously, Jaden's murderer. Or some information about all of that, and Oberyn, and that seems to be one of our major plot points. And Mont here, it's cute. Lucia begrudgingly gives this on the way out, kind of. Oh yeah, by the way, here you go. Here you are. Sorry for wrecking the wedding, kind of thing. Here, have some flowers, and congratulations. Hope there's no hard feeling about the whole. Really shitty way of doing this. Wotv would be a much simpler game and a much simpler story if people just kind of communicated a little bit better, but overall kind of a funny little scenario to open our bit into. And yeah, from there, that's kind of our first story. Our first story is going to be primarily about Oberyn and the kind of turmoil that Rundle has been put into, which makes sense. Oberyn kind of just killed a king and a leader, and you think that there would be some consequences for that. So it's good that we're not just dropping that story. Now, we also opened on this initial part here, which has to do with Gilgamesh as well as Sterne. Now, basically, at this point, Sterne has kind of banished the darkness from inside of him. Insert the Pokemon joke that we started out. But basically, Gilgamesh entrusts him with a brand new armor and a new power by consequence. So Gilgamesh seems to be the source of this power. Again, not super sure on exactly where this comes from. I think it has mentioned something about building this kind of thing, this power, either from the Oracle over the last few seasons. But really leans into the idea of what we had to deal with in the interlude with the weapon-like creature that you see in the opening intro cutscene to this story. Emerald weapon, diamond weapon. People have called it different things, but just call it the Wotv weapon, I think is a good name for it for us right now. But Sterne kind of brings in this new power for him, and we've already seen that scene, so we'll just skip to the next one. And basically goes into this kind of battle where, no, unfortunately, you don't get to see. There is no in-game, you get this partner, ally of New Ruin Sterne. But interestingly, his battle model is as well dual-wielding weapons, which is pretty cool. I think that, if there was ever a chance to introduce dual-wield weapon into the game, sure, right now. I mean, Reagan could be, potentially, but we're not here to talk about Reagan. This is a Wotv video. Point being, Ruin Sterne takes a test drive here through our characters. Unfortunately, we don't get to use his battle model. And, yeah, that kind of basically gets through this thing. And at this point, once again, if we just had some slightly, really overall better communication, or heck, even just had some stock enemies to fight, basically we could have probably skipped this entire thing and everyone would have been much better for it. But whatever. Sure, test driving the weapon. At this point, we find out that the weapon is very, very old and has been around for essentially a really long time, creating problems on the continent of Adra. And not only that, the more the way I read this is the more bloodshed, the more conflict that happens, the faster it kind of revives. So it kind of feeds on that. And this harkens back to like how we are going to kill it. And Gilgamesh kind of talks about this idea of the legendary sword, which is something that has come up over the course of, I think, even multiple side stories and the previous season, which is good. It's building towards something. But the idea of, trying to find legendary swords is also very, very in line with Gilgamesh's from other Final Fantasies, and I appreciate that. I think we're still technically missing our own Cid in this Final Fantasy, but one issue at a time. So yeah, basically, this is kind of the second plot through line that it seems that we're going to end up with, which is finding the kind of weapon to the Deus Ex Machina, if you will, to defeat the evil, giant, massive weapon of doom and death. And hopefully that will make everything sunshiny bright. So skipping ahead, that's kind of our second story through this season that it has been set up with. And through here, we also get a little bit of stuff with Macherie, which I actually find is pretty interesting. Macherie is kind of left behind here to deal with... Mont goes off. There's another plot line as well that we're about to talk to, but Mont goes off. Macherie kind of stays behind, and this is something that I'm not overly confirmed about, so if I do find out, I guess I'll talk about it later, but Macherie goes into talking a lot about her mother, like Ketone stays behind sort of thing, and Macherie goes on a lot about her mother, and whether or not she could be a mother, and all of this thing. And this is the point where I'm a little bit confused still about whether or not Macherie is actually pregnant at this time. I mean, we have seen that we did get some information in the interlude about Helena and Old giving birth to, you know who, Mont and Sterne kind of thing. But really, I mean, this is like she kind of breaks down at this point, and it's kind of a neat little segment about Macherie depthening her characters even a little bit. So Ketone and her kind of, a little bit love rivals in a way, bonding over, some stuff, and I kind of like this dynamic. I'm interested in where this will go, and I mean, they share an element, so obviously synergy, right? And that leads us to the third part, which is about the Wizet territory. Now, the Wizet territory, obviously, in the previous book, with Curry turning into a Resident Evil monster, which, yes, that is canon, and the giant robot / Gundam, which, by the way, the new Gundam, The Witch of Mercury, is actually really good. If you haven't checked it out, go. We're not here to talk about spoilers about that, but, just an aside. There's a lot of skirmishes going on in the Wizet territory, as there seems to be kind of a power vacuum with people fighting, and it seems like we're kind of getting the two sides. There's Glassy, who of course has a supposedly really good claim to the throne. I say really good because maybe there's going to be a twist this season, and it turns out she's actually not Curry's daughter, and that was a lie in Game of Thrones, but there's stuff going on between this conflict and whatnot. And lo and behold, we got these two, which are also causing skirmishes and problems in the area. And that's where we get Swagger Girl. And yeah, Swagger Girl comes in here and is like, haha, it's me, Dio. No, but this is a brand new character. We haven't seen her before. She hasn't been in any of the promotionary artwork up until this point. And as you can see from her actual artwork, she is going to be a range character, can you say? 5th or 6th at this point Ice Range character. I mean, at least it's consistent. We have a theme going on here, but Elaya's new best friend? Don't know. So yeah, between the Rundal Nation issues, with obviously Elaya being kidnapped at the end of last season and Jaden now being dead, Sterne going on a magical adventure with Gilgamesh and effectively evolving this season, and last but not least, the skirmishes that are going on. We have 3 effective storylines that will be going on through and over the course of Crossblood, and it looks pretty good thus far. Between the opening cutscene, which is honestly just really fire, and just the new versions of characters we're getting, and just the lead up, I think everything is looking quite good for the new book. Obviously, you know, only time will tell. I think that they've learned, the devs have learned at this point to keep stories a little bit more concise, as number 1 dragged on just a bit too long. But again, I feel like we're starting off on a strong foot, just like Season 2. And Season 2, I think, actually kept the interest going through mostly. I think that the canon by the end of Season 2 was a little bit weak and just dragged on a little bit too long. And that seems to be kind of the case here. But we got a giant Final Fantasy weapon. We got the brothers reuniting and potentially working together. Also, a quick note is that in Sterne's new Sterne's artwork, you'll notice you can actually rewind and go check it out. But half of the mask is attached with him, and I think that the other half of the mask may be with the other brother eventually, which is kind of a neat little storytelling detail in the artwork. But again, I'm thinking that this is relatively a good way for Wotv to go story-wise, and the story is getting some interesting stuff going on here. So yeah, you can see the mask being split there, but in his new version / form, in his actual official artwork anyway, part of the mask is on his belt, maybe just to guard it so the darkness can't come back. Maybe that darkness will play a future role. I mean, we have 2 pieces of darkness, so we just need 11 more. But yeah, hope you've enjoyed this spoiler cast. Again, not super all the details. I don't think we need to. Just taking a general look and conversation at what is going on is good enough and pretty fun. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Go check out the music video. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. And here's hoping that Season 3, along with the 3rd anniversary, no less, will kick it. The 3rd anniversary will keep pace with this and kick things into gear, as later this week we find out who the next character to be introduced into Wotv is. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.